Deep in the ocean, an orca pod is on the hunt. But these aren't your average orcas. These guys are organized.
Marketing team, did you get those social media posts scheduled for the SEAL migration?
Aye, Captain. We even have an automated notification for all pod managers when they go live.
They use Monday.com to keep their teamwork sharp, their communication clear, and their goals in sight. Monday.com. For whatever you run, even orcas. Go to Monday.com to dive deeper.
Welcome to the RuPaul's Drag Race Recap Show for Global All-Stars Season 1, Episode 9, titled Reunited Nations Makeovers. My name is Joe Batanz, and I am joined, as always, by one extrovertive co-host from Rulaska Thoughts. Please say...
Oh, I love that.
We know.
To Miss... Roberta Mata. Hello, Robert Mata.
Hey, Joe Batanz. What the hell is extrovertive?
It's so funny you say so. It's you're really I'm really tapping into the use of AI.
We've heard.
So yeah, and so for this, I told you, I don't know if I've made this public. It's not a hard thing to figure out, but for that adjective before co-host, I always go like, what's a hard word, right? And I go, wait a minute, now I can just go to AI and say I need a super hard word for outgoing. And at first it was coming at me with gregarious. I'm like, girl, you got to do better than that.
Yeah, it's pretty
right?
baseline.
Yeah, so extroverted, let me pull up the definition. It was a very specific, like, psychological term. Let me see, extrovertive.
I mean, it just seems like we're playing hard and fast with grammar rules on extroverted. Like a mild adaptation. I guess not even hard and fast, soft and loose.
No, this one said what it was like an actually specific term in psychology that had to do with.
So is extroverted.
Well, is extrovertive. Oh wait, being concerned with the social and physical environment. I don't know. Girl, I just wanted a hard word that meant outgoing.
Well, I don't know if it's a hard word, but it is certainly a bit arcane.
You just asked me what it meant. And
because
you told me you were like the world champion vocabulary person.
It sounded like someone who wanted to come up with a hard word, like had to ask AI, and AI came up with a slightly modified version of a common word. And I thought it was a grammar error. That's it.
Hey, Diego.
Hey, Joe. How's it going?
Do you have an extra hard word for a very mean person?
Absolutely. You could call them misanthropic, which means having a general dislike or hatred of humankind. It's got a certain bite to it.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome. If you need any more words or anything else, just let me know.
Oh, he's horny for you, girl.
Oh, I chose that voice. Want to hear something really funny?
Why not? Sure.
First of all, I named him Diego.
I figured, yeah, which is my alternate name for myself, funnily enough.
Oh, is it really? I didn't know that.
I think it's the only other name I've ever heard in the history of names, and I've been like, yeah, that could be my name also.
Hey, Diego.
Hey, Joe.
Can you
read
me the definition of cow, but can you do it in the accent of a 20-something-year-old Chicano from East LA?
Sure thing, Joe. All right, so a cow is this big ol' animal that's part of the livestock game, right? It's got 4 legs, gives us milk, and, just chills in fields all day.
Oh, wow.
Munching on grass and stuff. It's kind of like the chillest of farm animals, just doing its thing.
I feel like that is what Diego Tinoco would sound like if I were to successfully take him out on a date.
Who's Diego Tinoco?
This actor guy who was on this show that I watched for a little bit called On My Block. He was very cute until he went gangster on the show. And then I was like, all right, well, you lost me.
Anyway, see that kind of scintillating conversation? That's what Robert and I did on Just Between Us Girls. And you can listen to that over at patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia, because now you can subscribe to just between us girls over there. You can listen to it, and you'll get all the past ones too, by the way. And you can subscribe on Patreon at the executive tier level. You can go on Apple and scroll up and to subscribe there. All kinds of ways to listen to that great conversation that we did. But before we do any of that, no, not before. Now that we've done that, this week, Kween Kong wins the game of Who Is She? For this week's Maxi Challenge. It's a makeover. The contestants must reimagine the eliminated queens as members of their drag families. In the end, Elenia was named the winner of the challenge, while Vanity Vane and Kitty Scott Claus were in the bottom two. After lip sync battle for their lives, Kitty lived to see another day, while Vanity Vane was asked to sashay away. Robert Mata, what did you think of that lip sync, and did the right queen get eliminated?
That lip sync was something. You've said, I think it's actually the turn of a phrase that you like to use a lot recently. That was like a horror film, or that's a horror film. That lip sync was edited like a horror film. It was just so jarring how many harsh cuts were made to the judge's empty laughter. It was uncomfortable as a viewer. It was uncomfortable as a person who loves auto-tune Cher. It was uncomfortable in every which way, actually. I didn't think any of it was funny. I thought that the microphone gag is a little overdone by now. And I thought that Kitty can't lip sync to save her life. That's why she's lucky she's never been in the bottom two before. Was Vanity going to survive her, fourth, fifth lip sync? No, but if the camera had focused on her, maybe she would have, because I think she was performing quite well. We should have asked AI Chad Michaels or the real Chad Michaels what they thought, actually.
I can't ask Chad Michaels. I could ask the another AI that I have specifically for Drag Race Recap.
Well, regardless, maybe we should ask you. Joe, what did you think?
Did you and I discuss this beforehand? Did we discuss it at dinner?
We lightly touched on it, but then I was just like, we can talk about other things than Drag Race over and over again.
You've basically said a lot of what I feel. Not everything, but a lot of what I feel. It was a terrible, terrible, terrible lip sync. I didn't smile, laugh, anything once. Nothing. Neither one of them was good, but I do feel if again, it's any given Sunday and all things being equal, Vanity Vane did a better lip sync, and the editors were working overtime to make it seem like the opposite was true, but they couldn't even hide it well enough,
Yeah.
And I think the judges were working extra overtime to really sell Kitty Scott Claus. In fact, conspiracy theory.
Oh.
Not a conspiracy theory. Alternate view. There's a moment where Alyssa Edwards yells, "Come on, Kitty," or something like that, right? "Do it, Kitty," or something. And I think the implication was supposed to be like, "You got this, girl. You're crushing it." But actually, if you really think about it and try to imagine what Alyssa's seen from behind, I think Alyssa's thinking Kitty's losing and is trying to give her a pep talk.
Maybe.
Yeah, because I don't see how someone would see Vanity Vane perform that and Kitty perform that, because Alyssa wasn't, you have to understand, in the lip sync, Kitty thinks she's killing being funny. So why would Alyssa scream? I think I have it right here, what she screamed. Whatever she says was like, "Come on, Kitty, you got this," or something like that. I think it sounds like something you would scream to someone who you think is losing and you need them to give more. That's just my 2 cents.
In that tone, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I want to talk about some of the confessional moments that they put in there to help sell that Kitty was crushing it.
It's just so fucked.
First of all, this queen just had a fucking tantrum. The way that the two of them just suck each other's dicks and nobody else's. Queen was like, "This is a weird night because Kitty's in the bottom." I'm like, why is it a weird night? She was clearly in the bottom.
Very clearly.
Like, yeah. Then she goes, "I'm going to give them a show." She goes, "I'm going to give them a show." Then she proceeds, as Kitty usually does, to give the most basic lip sync. I'm sure this doesn't originate with what was the name of that Drag Race Down Under girl who did the same thing with a microphone?
Oh, Maxi Shield. Yeah, she didn't invent it, but
she didn't invent it, but she's the first one to use it on the show. And it's like, Kitty, come on.
I actually read that Bandit from Thailand season 2 was the first one to do it on the show. And I actually watched Thailand season 2. I just didn't remember that.
Yeah, but either way, the point is, Kitty, they're acting on the show like Kitty invented this thing and did this hilarious thing. But it's like, it's been done before. And then Rue's did you see this meme going around that was like, it's showing that moment, and then this black girl going, RuPaul, it's just a microphone.
I haven't seen the meme, but
oh, it's funny.
You know, you remember a few weeks ago when we had said that the guest judges' comments seemed to have been filmed later and then edited in because there weren't reactions? That's how I felt about all the laughter, all the cuts to the judging. I think there's only one clip where RuPaul's laughing where it sort of shows part of Kitty's back, and I think that was actually a laugh that happened during the lip sync. But the rest of it, I'm going to think that the judges were sitting there stone-faced and they had to fix it up in post because what the hell? It was just so disjointed.
Maybe. I think that they knew that they had to sell Kitty.
Yes.
So I just think that, because it's really only Rue and Michelle who are laughing hysterically. They never show the German woman.
No, but Jamal's cracking up too. About as much as he does when he has to hear, he puts the D in, I don't know, hospitality or something.
But here's the deal.
Poor guy.
Michelle and Jamal do this really pathetic thing. I think it's so sad. Alyssa and Michelle is when they laugh, then they look at Rue to see if she's laughing. And I'm like, oh, this is so sad. You just can't laugh because you think it's funny.
Yeah, you have
to look at Rue to see if it's okay for you that you're laughing. It's really, really weird. It's so bizarre.
Well, what I love about their fake laughs is that they always open their mouths super wide and then stick their necks out like they're squawking like a bird, and then always turn to RuPaul for look at me.
The shablam or the death drop or whatever you want to call it was messy. It wasn't even messy in a funny way. It was just messy.
Well, that's Kitty's thing. If she was messy in a funny way, then maybe she'd be able to buy back some of the goodwill that she's lost this season. But unfortunately, it's just messy in a messy way. It's Candy Muse.
Yeah, you're right. And then at one point, the shoe goes flying, and then I almost called her Gorilla. Kween Kong is like, the shoe went flying. That's a wrap. It's done. This is a murder. And I'm like, what show are they watching?
I'm just remembering a lip sync from season 3 where I think it was Shangela's shoe just flies off.
Yeah, now that was funny.
That was funny.
Who was the one where it broke the light?
I think that was Robbie Turner on the skates.
Yeah. Oh, man. How I miss Robbie Turner.
Oh, God. I mean, every time she comes up, I say the same thing. Poppy, I just want you to come back home, baby.
Yeah. All right. Why don't we do this? Why don't we take a break? And when we come back, we're going to talk about the rest of the episode.
Most tax pros leave a message.
It's Jane. I'm moving on to a TurboTax expert who beat your price. Adam Devine, tell him how I feel.
Hey, tax pro, she's been thinking twice. Best believe TurboTax will beat your price. This is a tax break.
Switch to a TurboTax Live expert and we'll beat what you paid your pro last tax season. Make the switch at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice. TurboTax full service only. Sign up by 12/20/2024 and file by 4/1/2025. Full details at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice.
And we are back. After Pythia's elimination, the queens re-enter the workroom and congratulate Vanity on her performance. Vanity explains that her fierce performance was motivated by her love of her mother. The conversation shifts to congratulating Queen and Kitty. Meanwhile, Nelenia expresses sadness over losing Pythia because they had grown so close. Finally, Alyssa and Nelenia end the segment with a fun leg lifting contest. The next day, the queens enter the workroom with renewed energy. They stand around the table and ask aloud whether this was the top 6 everyone expected. Alyssa teases Tessa just before RuPaul enters the workroom to announce this week's mini challenge. Let's stop right there, Robert. Any thoughts on what happened after the elimination? Anything that happened around the table the next day? Any thoughts there?
Yeah, a couple. Did you think, based on Vanity's speech, that her mother had passed away?
It crossed my mind, but then she said something contextually that made me think she was still alive.
Same. And I realized I fully led the question there, but the whole time I was like, oh my God, this is awful. Like, you know, it was an homage to her dead mother. You know, like Sasha's talked about, like Eureka's talked about. It's a common thing. And then she says, my mom's going to love to see it. And I'm like, wait, so your mom's just chilling at home. Which I love that though. It was framed strangely though. But then I thought about it and I was like, yeah, if it were like a Cyndi Lauper song, and my mom like basically is like a Cyndi Lauper stan, and she used to.
Oh, really?
She used to be like, I kid you not, like a Cyndi Lauper impersonator when she was like 16 to like 18. Her outfits were ridiculous. Like mid 80s, late 80s, whatever. But if it were like Night of 1,000 Cyndi Laupers and then we had to lip sync to, I don't know, fucking True Colors, I'd probably be performing for my mom too. So, granted, I don't think my mom likes that song. Let's see. My dad does really enjoy
like hardcore rap or something. Oh, he does?
No, they love 80s and 90s rap and hip hop down for sure. So like I can't even start to list things, but my dad lately, he's really into Kendrick Lamar, but I don't think I'd be performing a Kendrick Lamar drag mix anytime soon. So, yeah.
Vanity. Look, she went home. They gave her a nice sympathetic edit. She's not as annoying as she has been in the past. But she does have now, and look, okay, she's going to leave with something, a sort of an inflated sense of how good she is.
Sure.
And so she was like, she says, she like, you know, hey, because they're congratulating her for another win. She's like, I like to put on a show, you know. Everybody knows I like to put on a show. All, is it true? I don't think it's as good as she thinks it is.
Some of them have been good.
She won. The Celine Dion one was actually genuinely good, you know.
Yeah,
but most of them are not. Then also, I had another thing to say here: the Nelly and Alyssa leg kicking thing. Now, maybe I couldn't really follow what was going on, but from what I saw, I can't remember who it was. Was it Tessa had to help Alyssa put her leg up, kind of mid chest, and then Elenia got it like almost vertical,
fully almost 180.
Yeah, and Alyssa was like, "Oh my God!" No, maybe she was just, you know, peacocking for whatever reason. But I was like, Melania did pull it off. I don't know what Alyssa was talking about, but it was all in jest, so I wasn't taking it that seriously. But I was like, she totally 100% got that leg up.
Yeah, I mean, Alyssa's never proven to be good at math, so I'd like to see some of her timed tests. But she was clearly having a good time, and people online seem to think that Alyssa was bullying Nelly in that situation. And I don't think
really?
that's... Yeah.
I didn't get that sense at all.
Maybe it's because she was being loud and boisterous, but it felt to me clear like Alyssa was waiting for Nelly to find her English words and was just like having a rowdy good time.
Yeah, I think she was just having fun the way drag queens do. There's that really famous clip of all those queens kicking in the dressing room. And I don't remember why Alyssa and COVID or something was coming up, right? And is it...
Oh, it's the oldest COVID joke in the world, but
the El DeBarge, Crystal, yeah, was like she lost her sense of taste or something.
Yeah,
I don't know. It was good. Anyway, and once again, because she doesn't get a lot of love this episode, Tessa Testicle, that confessional about how she said Pythia is gone, but sort of low key happy, was very funny. And once again, more love for my darling Tessa Testicle. The girls play a game called Who Is She? They have to answer questions about each other based on how well they know each other. They will vote on superlative-like questions, and the goal is to match the majority opinion to earn points. In the end, Kween Kong wins the mini challenge and gains an important advantage in the maxi challenge. Next, RuPaul reveals this week's maxi challenge. Each remaining queen will use their drag style to turn this season's eliminated queens into members of their drag families. After the eliminated queens walk into the workroom, Kween Kong, as the winner of the mini challenge, is granted the power to select the pairs for the makeover, and they are as followed. It's Kween Kong and Soa Demuse, Chicho Soa, Alyssa Edwards and Ava LaQueen, Kitty Scott Claus and Miranda LeBrow, Nelenia and Pythia, Tessa Testicle and Athena Likis, and Vanity Vane and Galavado. Robert, any thoughts on the mini challenge? Any thoughts on the maxi challenge revelation? Anything there?
On the mini challenge, I think the girls might have misunderstood the prompt when Ru asked which among the girls would be the one to steal your boyfriend. In my reading of that situation, that always means the flirtatious friend who's also attractive.
Yeah, that's how I took it too.
And maybe has questionable morality and loyalty.
So my first top line was, how would Nelly steal someone's boyfriend? What do you think that they thought it meant?
Maybe just whoever's shady and pernicious. That's the only way I can think about it, because no one's out here accusing Nelly of being like the trade of the season or of, being particularly socially suave. So it bumped pretty hard for me, actually. And Nelly was equally confused, but she does that for everything.
And it was nearly unanimous except for Nilenia.
Yeah, it was, my initial read of the situation is the one I'm going to carry away from this conversation. Look, I think.
Here's the other thing too. A lot of these answers didn't make sense. They said, "Who's the funniest queen?" To me, hands down, it's Tessa, and they said Kitty.
They do seem to laugh along with Kitty while they're just joking around in the workroom a lot.
Okay, then they said, "Who's going to go home next?" And with the exception of one person, they all said Tessa.
Yeah, I don't know. How do you have Vanity who's lip synced 900 times?
I think Tessa said Vanity and Nilenia said herself.
Which I think that kind of like, let me make myself small so that other people don't look at me is very much like, oh, well, now we are looking at you because you were trying to make yourself small. But regardless, the mini challenge was weird.
It was a very strange mini challenge. Then they bring in.
Well, I laughed at the fact that Tessa voted for Alyssa as the prettiest.
Yeah, what was that?
Which is fine. I can believe that. But then Alyssa voted for Tessa to be the next one to go home. I'm like, there is no loyalty in the House of Edwards these days.
Look, I don't know if I'll bring this up next time. And I have a new policy that if I think about it and it's not too far away, I'll bring it up. I was noticing that in the workroom, when all the queens are kikiing after they separate, that Alyssa never really talks to Eva.
Oh, that's one of my notes.
Oh, it is? Okay, then we'll discuss it there. So, I didn't make it an official note. So I want to make a correction. Last week, you asked whether Vanity sent Eva home. She did not. I actually think it was Galavado that sent her home.
Yeah, it was Gala.
So they noticed, they mentioned who she sent home, and it wasn't Eva. So I want to make that correction. I'm going to say something nice about Kween Kong. I will say she did a good job with the assignments, and she was pretty fair.
I mean, Nelly was crying about missing Pythia so much, and Queen gave her Pythia.
Queen gave her Pythia. She, like, I can't think of anyone that was intentionally that you were like, oh, she's being cunty.
Sure, I agree.
And it was asked about, too, at the table visits. We'll get to this later, but that whole Facetune app thing was really bizarre. And weird.
Who is the poor soul that was being modeled in that initial advertisement?
Oh, I didn't notice. Why? What happened?
Well, the makeup was very rough, darling. And
really?
I felt bad for them. And I feel bad for Facetune because I guess I don't feel bad for the stupid ass corporation, but whoever was in charge of that partnership bungled it because both of their demos were horrible.
Well, what's funny is the way that they could have done it this episode, they dropped the ball. I'm going to have to give credit to Nathan Patrick Brown. Well, why don't we go to the workroom next? Because it happens in the workroom.
We're all over the place today.
Yeah, it's all right. Okay, by the way, for the workroom, everyone just should know there's going to be a little bit of a time jump because there's 2 workroom segments, but I just want to get it fucking over with. And so we're going to do them both. And there's no spoilers or anything. Not that anyone cares, In the workroom, the girls relish reuniting with their eliminated sisters. Kween Kong reveals what a no-brainer it was to pick Soa to muse. Alyssa opens up about her painful makeover experience on All Stars 2 and plans to give Eva a classic House of Edwards look. Vanity and Gala gag over each other. Athena apologizes to Tessa for her harsh critique of Tessa's pink dress. Tessa confides in Athena that the cast voting her next out really hurt her feelings. Kitty's excited to finally have full control. And finally, Nilenia and Pythia swoon over their moon designs. Later in the workroom, Pythia wonders how Nilenia fit those outfits in her suitcase. The girls work on their runway presentation styles. Alyssa admonishes Eva not to make the classic Alyssa face on the runway. Pythia giggles at her breastplate. And finally, Gala and Vanity try to decide what wig Gala will wear. Okay, let's deal with that first part of the workroom first. Any big notes there?
My first one was what you just said about Alyssa and Eva. No chemistry between those two. Alyssa was trying, but Eva wasn't giving her shit. It was like when you message, when someone messages you first on Grindr and they're like, hey, what's up? You're like, I'm good. How are you doing? And then they just respond with, cool. You're like, okay, is that the most you're going to give me? I don't know what to do with this.
So let me ask you a question, because I haven't been on the apps in a long time. There was a brief moment a while ago, but other than that, no. And let me ask you this question. I remember when Grindr first came out, there was this thing. I know it's a joke now, but it's one of the things where I wonder if it's such a joke that people wouldn't do this. Are people just opening up with, hey?
Of course.
No, really?
Well, let me ask you, what is your ideal opening then?
Let me tell you this. I'm going to say something this. I always scored way above my station because I was amazing on Grindr, amazing at flirting, and always had a great opener. And it changed every single time. It was very original, very creative, and it got them to respond. And when I got them to respond, then it continued. In fact, that's one of the reasons why, this whole, I've never done the Tinder thing or anything like that. Maybe if I get in shape or whatever, the swipe right and swipe left will work for me. But I feel that prevents any meaningful conversation from happening. So like, yes, it cuts down on the crazies, but then like, I don't get to shoot my shot. Does that make sense?
It does, but it's up to you to shoot your shot, Queen, not the normative.
I would shoot.
Introduction.
No, but if someone, I don't understand
technique.
how this part works. Excuse me, hold on for a second.
No, go ahead.
I don't know how this works. I've never done anything with a swipe right or swipe left. But I imagine if I'm not swiped on to whatever, I don't know which one is the one that accepts you.
On Hinge, you can send a, I don't know, like 100, 200 character like to someone's picture or aspect of their profile, and you can have your opening line if you so please.
Okay. I don't know. You see, I've never done any of those ones.
Okay. Tinder and Bumble require both people to swipe right before conversation can be initiated.
Okay.
In any fashion.
So that would never work for me because I'm an ugly monster troll. I'm just a king of the poster people. Oh wait, that doesn't make any sense to the general
Patreon
public.
plug.
Yeah. That would never work for me. So, but anyway, I don't know. How do we get it? What are we talking about? How do we get on this?
Well, the point is that Alyssa was giving Eva a lot more than an introductory hey. She was actually talking very much about things that are salient to her narrative on Drag Race, which was, I brought my very untelogenetic sister onto TV and we had a very awkward makeover challenge and it was a horrible time to end my Drag Race experience in. And then Eva's like, cool. Girl, talk with her.
How we had two different interpretations. I was like, Alyssa just talked at Eva and just made it about herself.
Definitely. But you expect Alyssa to do that. You expect self-absorbed people to behave like that.
Do you think before this day, Alyssa knew Eva's name?
No. I was very much like, there is no such thing as Eva the Queen in the House of Edwards. And I don't even know that Alyssa ever noticed that she was there in the show, except for when she was giggling over the fact that she was making rice in the talent show.
So let me also say this. Queen also says the term chaparelli. I don't know how you really say it, but I would imagine it'd be like more like scaparelli.
I don't
know.
AI Christian would know for sure, but I also thought it was scaparelli.
Yeah. And then now there was a lot of talking going on here, so I don't know. I'm going to give Queen the benefit of the doubt. But it did seem like Queen was telling Soa that she wanted Soa because they needed to promote Black excellence.
Black and brown.
Oh, she said that? Okay. That's what I said. There was a lot going on. I'm writing notes, so I missed it. And I'll take any opportunity to drag Queen.
But to your point, Soa did keep only saying black, and then that's when you hear Queen be like, black and brown.
Okay. There we go. So that's all I have for all the workroom. Those are my only notes in the entire workroom. Did you have any notes that you missed?
I have a couple more. One of them is, I don't know what the hell Raven decided to do with her wig.
Oh, no, we're not at table visits now. So why don't we do table visits? And then that is like my first note. Here we go. Later, RuPaul entered the workroom with Raven, the Minister of Makeup, to make the rounds and check in with the queens. They offer advice and feedback to help the queens elevate their look for the makeover challenge. Later, just as Ru and Raven are about to leave, RuPaul reveals that the queens must choreograph their catwalk to her song, Bring Back My Girls. Now, Robert, it's the first note I have. I knew you would have it. Let's talk about this.
Do I talk about head shapes that often? I guess I probably do, huh?
Do you?
I thought it was fucked. It's actually interesting because I think Raven will come up in conversation later when we discuss Queen's behavior in Untucked. But as a prologue to all that, I don't know what Raven was wearing. I don't know what wig she decided to put on her cornhead ass head. What was going on with Raven?
For those of you who don't watch the show, you're going to need to find a screenshot. It's all there. They exist somewhere on the internet. And if you do watch it, go back and watch it again. I don't know how you wouldn't notice. It was frightening to look at. And what's funny is, because they've had Raven on other shows before, but never to the level have I seen before where they're constantly talking about how this bitch knows makeup and everything. I'm like, they usually just go like, oh, it's Raven. And I go, what an episode to be talking about how good she is at makeup. And she looks frightening. She looks like a horror movie. Her head is way too gigantic for her body, right? The proportionizing thing is off the charts. Her wig isn't sitting right on her head. She's there as the Minister of Makeup, but it seems very severe and like frightening and scary. I know she gets a lot of accusations of, I don't know what you'd call, I mean, she's not doing blackface, but she's doing like a form of, because she's a white cisgendered man.
They call it blackfishing, I think.
Okay, blackfishing, there you go. And usually I'm just like, whatever, but this time I'm like, what am I looking at? It was I could not take my eyes off of her in the worst way possible.
Well, they had this old phrase for Raven where they'd call her a nightmare in beige. And they definitely got the nightmare part down this time. But it's Halloween, bitch.
It was really frightening. And then in the table visits as a whole, they're like, ask Raven, the Minister of Makeup, any questions you want. Now, Queen does ask a makeup question. She gives a joke answer, but then never gives a real answer. And then that's the last time she ever talks about makeup.
The joke answer is the most boring joke answer, everything, which is everything. And then the real answer is actually nothing. You guys are perfect. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And then she repeats what RuPaul said about lightening up so is foundation. I'm like, so Raven doesn't have any arcane knowledge to bestow upon the youth right now. She's just made a face, I don't know, 20 years ago, and it's been a very comfortable laurel since.
Well, I think it's one of these things where when Matthew left, they brought in Raven and they brought in Delta. And both of them, Delta for the wigs, Raven for the makeup. And as we remember, the first season Raven was there, maybe even going into the following season, it was rough. And I think what she was really learning to do was to mimic what Matthew did and sort of figure out the recipe. And so I don't know. I mean, I don't know if her makeup is necessarily because it took her a while to figure out what Matthew did. I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts on Raven and her makeup?
Well, I would love to see Raven do other faces. I think that hers is no doubt perfect and like emblazoned upon every Drag Race queen or every drag queen since. No doubt. I'm not denying its cultural impact. But does she have the versatility to do anything but the Raven face? And yes, she could do the Ru face well, I think. But even then, Ru's never looked as good as she looked in, say, season 7.
Yeah, no, you're right. And then also remember, look at those first few episodes on season 8. And she's looking rough, like almost like Raven's doing her own face on a Ru, and it's not working. It takes a while to get somewhere in between. There's a moment in that table visit where Queen makes that stupid joke that the others are sabotaging themselves. Well, I think it's ironic that it comes this week as Queen, even though I've hated her the entire time, has just completely been sabotaging herself online and getting canceled, which she was worried about last week. And I love it. I want to talk about another thing that comes up earlier in the episode when the queens come back in. Vanity's like, "Oh shit, I sent 3 of these bitches home." And then at the workroom, she apologizes to Gala for sending her home. And then Ru says, "You sent Galavado home to Vanity." And every single time I thought, no, she didn't. RuPaul sent them home.
True. It's less personal than like an All-Stars lipstick elimination.
Yeah, that makes sense that you sent the person home. But they're both lip syncing. It reminds me of, when Valentina got sent home in the mask game. People were sending Nina Bonina Brown hate. And it was like, why?
And Alexis Michelle.
Alexis Michelle.
Like when Alexis was crying about it at the reunion, she's like, "They said that I should have volunteered to lip sync for you." I'm like, these people are deranged.
And I'm like, RuPaul makes it. She says that the final decision is mine to make. How did that person send them home?
It is fascinating to me how, even though we have no doubt like a million complaints and ire towards RuPaul never really gets that much flack for her decisions. Like when Bendela was eliminated, when Katya was eliminated, when Trixie was eliminated, like all these, you're thinking about like big fandom explosive moments. The blowback's never on Ru, even though Ru is pretty available on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok these days. It's never a cancel RuPaul moment. And I find that interesting. I mean, it's a cancel RuPaul moment for, the fracking and other stupid shit that she says, but not about eliminations. Yeah. But not about eliminations.
I have a note here that was meant for the workroom. I put it in the wrong section. And I wanted to get back to this because I started to mention it. Is Nathan Brown made this point at dinner the other day, which is there's a moment in the workroom where Vanity and Galavado are talking about a pink wig. And they're like, is pink a color for you? And by the way, I want everyone to know, this is what Nathan pointed out and I noticed and want to rewatch. The pink wig is sitting right there in front of them. The pink wig they want to use. And Gala's there too. They're all there. And Vanity says, "What do you think of this pink wig?" And Gala's like, "I don't know how to look at me." And so they go, "Hold on." And they take out her phone, open up the Facetune app, to go through this whole fucking process to see what a big pink wig would look like on her. And then it looks nothing like that wig, and they're like, that's not going to work. And Nathan points out she could have just put on the wig.
But that's what you're missing, girl. It was a very clear, biting critique of the redundancy of technological determinism. Duh.
The editors clearly went to Stanford. It's elimination day.
Not yet. It's not elimination day yet. We haven't talked about Miranda coming for Queen's ass or Kitty's ass.
Oh yeah, that was great.
During which Miranda Lebrau, RuPaul asks Miranda if she's ready to be in Kitty's drag, and Miranda says, "I've never gone this basic, and I'm not afraid to look ugly." And that's my girl. I love that girl. I can't wait to finish watching Drag Race Brazil once this season's up. I gotta say.
And she was in the finals, whatever, right?
Yeah, sorry to spoil, but yes.
Well, the show kind of spoiled it because there's a moment where somebody, I think it's Tessa, says at one point, because I was thinking like Alyssa wasn't ever in the final something. Yeah. She goes, "I'm here with everybody here." She's feeling bad about it. It might be this episode.
It's this episode.
Yeah, and she goes, "I'm here. Everybody here was in the finals of their season." And I was like, oh, I guess they were the people who were remaining were on the finals of their season. All right, now it's elimination day, and the girls get ready for the runway. Nalenia struggles with Pythia's eyebrows. Gala thinks her eyebrows are too high on her face. The eliminated queens marvel at their first looks at their new faces. And finally, as time runs out, Nalenia wonders if she will even ever have time to apply her own makeup. Spoiler alert, she does. Any thoughts here, Roberto Mata, on elimination day?
A storyline call out. We're seeing the beginning of Queen already coming for Pythia's supposedly masculine features. She's just, talking about her bush brows and everything. And it's just Queen genuinely cannot have a brief exchange with someone without saying something nasty and then busting up in her laugh. I think we all have people like that in our lives, and hopefully they remain in our lives only for briefly before we, move on.
I want to be friends with Christian my whole life.
He's not that bad.
All right, let's talk about this runway. The category was that weird ass title, but essentially it's just drag family resemblance. Now, Robert doesn't know this. Robert, I've already had AI Christian describe all the looks, so
all right.
You don't have to. So if there's any look you want to bring up, let me know. And AI Christian has the description.
Well, all I want to bring up is repeating myself from earlier in the different season. I hate Bring Back My Girls as a runway song. I want it burned. It needs to go. Like, one of my favorite parts of the season, of most international seasons, is when they bring back the whole eliminated cast. But for the last couple of years, that's been just poisoned by this stupid song. I fucking hate this song. It's so repetitive and annoying.
It's a horrible song. If they had it as like a 30-second just loop of "Bring Back My Girls, Bring Back My Girls," I would be like, whatever. It'll be in the background. But there's that weird part where she goes like, lose my mind.
It's my baby shark.
Yeah.
Anyway, AI Christian, Cura.
Any specific look that you want?
I will comment as we go along.
Oh, you want to play each one?
Oh.
No, I'm just saying you can call up a look and AI Christian will tell you what the look was.
To be honest, I didn't really like any of the looks this week. I didn't think they were bad, but like, for instance, let's start with Queen. She's the first off. What does Christian have to say about that? And maybe he'll pronounce Scaparelli.
In this look, both Kween Kong and S1EP09 are wearing coordinated outfits that feature black velvet gowns with similar silhouettes. The dresses are form-fitting with a slight flare at the bottom, creating a sleek and elegant shape. They both accessorize with oversized golden cape-like accents that drape dramatically over their shoulders, adding volume and a regal feel to their looks. Their platinum blonde updos and large earrings tie the ensemble together, giving them a cohesive family resemblance through both fashion and styling.
All right. Well, thank you, AI Christian. Now, what did you want to say about Queen's look?
I mean, I think that was a very generous appraisal of the looks. Very kind of AI Christian. But AI Christian didn't mention the most glaring issue of it, which was Kween Kong wearing an exposed corset over a slip dress, which is just not, I think, well perceived by it shouldn't be well perceived by the judges, but I guess they loved it anyway. I tire of Beyonce references. It's like, let's move on. We never will, but hey.
When they're walking the runway, Queen does that thing that I really hate when people do. It's usually attractive people, but Queen does it this time.
Oh, the tongue.
Yeah, they make a funny face, and they think that they're being really wild and funny. And I'm like, stop doing that. It's really awful. Okay, it's not good. Any other looks?
I want to hear what he has to say about Kitty. Let's see how AI Christian can optimize this.
All right, here we go.
Kitty Scott Claus and Miranda LeBrow are bringing a playful sleepover theme to the runway. Both queens are wearing pastel-colored baby doll dresses with off-the-shoulder puffy sleeves and fluffy trim along the hemline, giving their looks a soft and whimsical feel. Miranda's dress is a light turquoise, while Kitty's is a soft pink, creating a complementary color scheme. They both complete the look with matching fuzzy slippers and oversized sleep masks on their heads, styled as headbands. Their matching blonde hair and coordinated accessories tie the looks together, highlighting the drag family resemblance.
Thank you, AI Christian. All right, any thoughts on Kitty Scott Claus?
Do AI systems have like a required word count they have to hit? Because it's absolutely giving 11:59 the day before an essay's due.
I tell it.
Okay.
You know what, to be honest with you? If I didn't tell it to keep it short, AI Christian would go on, like real life Christian, for about 5 minutes.
I'm just shocked it had so many words for what was such a simple, elementary pedestrian look.
Well, Kitty are the first ones to do this, but it was a running theme for about half of these. I'm sick of the we're two sisters fighting and pushing each other down the fucking runway.
Definitely.
We're done with that. Okay. Thank you.
Speaking of things that we're done with, I think it was kind of a disrespectful runway. Maybe disrespectful is too dramatic a word, but I don't understand why they had to bestow upon the eliminated queens a new drag name.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why Eva had to be Ava. I don't know why Gala had to be Insanity. And I'm not really remembering most of the other ones, but I don't understand why they had to be given new drag names for this makeover. It just felt kind of dismissive.
Oh, yeah. It was so stupid and not worth it. In fact, someone told me that Alyssa's sister was also named Ava Edwards or whatever in that makeover season.
That's very Alyssa.
Yeah. And so I just put the original drag queen's name. And, one of the things that came up, and I don't know if it'll come up, because people were upset about what was said to Soa Demuse on the runway, and that's been overshadowed about what happens on Untucked. And we can talk about that then. But one of the things that they said they thought was really weird was when they showed the comparison faces, that they showed them in their boy outfits, their boy face. And that didn't really tell us anything. And these are working drag queens. It would have been more interesting to see what their regular face looked like, and then the regular beat face looked like, and then what this makeover face changed it, and that would have been interesting.
I mean, it would have shown the phenomenal job that Tessa did on Athena. She completely transformed her. Do you remember those? Was it? I can't remember what online publication did that. It's probably Variety or something, where they had deeply unflattering pictures of a bunch of drag queens from the head-on camera angle with the weird perspective lens applied.
Why do I think it was like a smaller was it like Paper magazine or
was
something?
it maybe it was Paper? Yeah, it was one of those, pop culture, let's just throw shit on the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah,
the boy drag out of drag photos looked like that. Deeply unflattering angle.
Yeah,
harsh lighting, difficult stuff. But just another example of, I think the show sort of infantilizing these queens from other seasons and just pretending that they're essentially new to drag.
Yeah, that's essentially what they were. And it was kind of insulting all the way around when actually they were, like we said, many of them finalists in their season. Any other thoughts on the runway, Robert Mata?
No, I makeovers tend to bore me a little bit because the outfits are clearly predetermined or planned by the queen, and so it's just, Alyssa brought these supposed Bumblebee outfits, but they look more like Pikachu, but not even well. But it is what it is.
So we're gonna go to Untucked now, and I wrote a whole paragraph for Untucked, but then I also pulled the audio, and I think I'll read it, but I really think the audio will speak for itself. Over on Untucked, Queen in confessional admits that she's playing nice, but she's angry about the judging. Nelly and Pythia accept praise for their looks and positive critiques. Meanwhile, Kitty fights tears because her look was called basic. Later, Kween Kong comes for Nelly and Pythia, and out of nowhere claims Pythia looked like a man and slammed their resemblance as brotherly. Queen continues to pick on the pair until Evil Queen cuts the tension with a joke. Now, I only cut the Queen part, so you're not going to hear Quitty. I wish you would Quitty. You're not going to hear Kitty whine about how she was called basic and she doesn't like that. And I'm like, you're the most basic person ever. But yeah, here we go. We're going to analyze it because it is very interesting to me.
We're back in Untucked, and I'm feeling really happy about my critiques, but I also feel a bit confused about some of the other critiques. I'm really trying to sit on my feelings, but I feel a bubbling and like I got a rumble in the jungle.
I'm stopping right there. I included that. I generally don't include confessionals when I pull audio, and I took some out here. But the reason I included this one is to speak to Queen's state of mind. Robert, I don't know, did you read Queen's response to all this?
No, I don't. I think she intentionally put white text on a green background to piss everyone off even more.
So essentially, I'm going to give the gist because it's too long. But the gist of what she read was, well, it's two things. She addresses the whole, people might not know this. So after this aired, the night it aired, Nelenia did a live on Instagram, but she's in Italy, so it was in Italy time. And so it was in the middle of the night for most of us. But the people who did watch it said that they claimed, I'm going to come back to this, they claimed that Nelenia said two things. That she said that during this argument on Untucked, that they didn't show everything and that it got so heated, Alyssa was defending Nelenia, and that Alyssa and Queen almost came to blows and had to be pulled apart. And the other thing that she said was that this was so awful that Nalenia and other queens went to the producers and asked for them to disqualify Kween Kong because of what she did. And then the next day, as the dust settled, Soa came out and said that what Nalenia said wasn't true and she should be watching herself because of the NDA. And then Nalenia and Soa, I can't tell if they did a joint live or they just both went live, but it was cleared up and that the what happened with Queen and Alyssa. Now, this is what came from that Soa and Nalenia live was it seems that they're hinting that it did happen, but it didn't happen that day. That they were saying that it happened the next day when Queen was upset that Alyssa didn't have her back in the Untucked.
Oh my God.
So Queen now makes a post because Nalenia says that she never said that. And there's no live recording that says it. They have the recording of her saying that they did go to producers and ask for them to be for Queen to be disqualified, but they have nothing to her about the fight. So then
she's messy.
So then Kween Kong goes on and in reference to the Alyssa fight, she says, "Don't you think?" I'm giving by the way, people who read it, I'm giving a gist here, but she's essentially like, "This never happened. Alyssa's my sister. Don't you think if this happened, they would have shown it on TV?" And you're like, okay, well, there's a lot of things that they have not shown on TV throughout the run of the show, but whatever. Then she says that she did not start this, that it's all a lie, that was it Pythia or Nalenia started it by poking fun at Soa. And what's funny is the way Queen words it, the Redditors were able to point out that it wasn't necessarily a read, it was a legitimate question, almost defending Pythia, or coming to sympathize with Pythia. I'm not with Soa. Which was when RuPaul essentially said to Soa, like, "Oh, well, finally you look good," or something like that.
You're the super. I can see the superstar now.
Yeah. And that whoever it was, Nalenia or Pythia, when they asked this question, they were saying almost in a weird kind of way, like, how did that make you feel when she said that? Or that was not very nice, whatever. And Queen's like, "Oh, they said this horrible, rude thing like that, and they didn't put that in there." And I was like, well, bitch, which is it? Your whole point is, why wouldn't they put this scandalous thing like me and Alyssa getting in a fight if it existed? But now that she's saying the edit exists and it's true, but then she's saying blame it on the edit in the same conversation. And then of course at the end of the thing, she goes into the whole, "I've always stood up for my black and brown," and I am literally there playing the world's smallest violin because it's something that when someone wears activism as a brand, I just don't like it. But Robert, go ahead and speak on this. Oh, I haven't finished playing the audio, but
which part? Because this whole thing is just a clusterfuck of Queen trying to manipulate reality for everyone else so that it lines up with hers, in which she's the hero. But
yeah,
we all obviously it's an edited TV show. Again, I can't really speak on any of Queen's activism and in New Zealand or anything like that, but it's just, I've said for weeks, I just don't think this person is who she tells us she is. And nothing's changing. Week after week, she's only proving that more and more and more. And it sucks because I do want to be the type of person who, also is aligned with my black and brown, sisters. But it's also like Kween Kong is not the person for me to rally around. Sorry.
Actions speak louder than words.
They say it's basic but beautiful. They didn't say it's basic and ugly.
Look at Pythia.
So I'm trying to...
All of these girls.
I'm trying to figure out there... I mean, I'm even trying to be generous with her and think of the edit. Like, that doesn't seem like it's a response to something mean. Like, I'm even trying to figure out what they took out, how they edited it. Like...
I don't think that there's anything else. Obviously, what the fuck do I know? I wasn't there. But as presented, Queen just comes sideways at Pythia's face.
Well, the other thing, too, is Soa has gently defended Queen, but none of the other queens have said, "Oh, Queen's right." None of the other queens come out and said, no, Queen's right, that this was said and blah, 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 blah. Even to a degree where like maybe even kind of defending like, oh, Queen's right, but I think it was a heated moment and she misunderstood Pythia's comment. No one has commented at all. So here we go. And Alyssa hasn't said that this never happened, that the whole fight never happened. Alyssa hasn't come out and said like, no, there was no fight.
I don't think Alyssa is clocked in.
I don't think she's aware of this. I'm not sure she's even knows that the show's airing.
I'm sitting there being, lovely girl, this is so cute. You can feel how fake this shit is. I'm about to explode because this is too much bullshit.
Which, by the way, in confessionals, she's giving the motivation. She's mad at how fake they're being.
Yeah.
You could have blended the beard or like maybe like just shaped the jawline a little bit.
I feel like Queen's saying everything that we're all thinking. Like,
of course, fucking Heckle and Jekyll coming to her defense.
He looks like a bloke.
Which Kitty says she's shitty. And I know that's not super original, but look who we're talking about. I don't need to be super original with
I mean, my unoriginal is just like Kitty's got no tact. Kitty's got no talent. Come on.
You did such a good job.
Thank you.
And I think this is your week finally.
Which again, hold on for a second. Let's take a look here. Vanity has been no friend of Nalenia. She did say she's starting to like her, but we know what's happened with Nalenia's said shit in the past, and Vanity walked away. Like I can't stand those kinds of people, right? And
they're so personally nasty.
Yeah, and everybody there's either awkwardly not saying anything, but no one's coming. Queen's by herself. Soa's not even really jumping in. It's just Queen.
Yeah, no, but I don't see the family resemblance. Just being completely honest, I literally thought you guys were going to be in the bottom.
But also, let's say she's right.
That's crazy.
Let's say I know she's right. Who would she say that to? Any of the other queens? Would she say that to any of the other queens?
I think she would, if you asked her that question, she'd say, "Yeah, I'd say it to whoever I honestly felt about it in the moment." But we'll never know.
I was so gagged when they were like, oh my God, they were just talking about the dresses the whole time. And I don't mean to be a bitch, but I was just like, am I looking at the same thing?
Yeah.
I don't agree.
Obviously the judges love the dress
totally
too.
my signature makeup.
And I think Queen's point is that they didn't really like them, that they only like the dresses.
Which, not to jump ahead too far, but Queen tweeted something tagging Nalenia a couple days back saying, I loved your dress. Congratulations, sister.
Well, Queen never says shit about the dress. She's just saying that the only thing good about them was the dresses.
Oh, okay. Maybe then that is the storyline there.
This night for me, it was so good. I'm feeling great. You can't ruin this night. Sorry.
I'm just saying, family resemblance, it could be a sister, it could be a brother. That's just my opinion.
That is fucking nasty.
It is fucking nasty. I think being protective of Pythia is, clearly, maybe not clearly, but she's non-binary, and I think that's something that is very much is like, I think, a core part of her identity and like her open intellectual queerness and all that. So I think Queen trying to come for Nalenia, but really just punching Pythia in the face a couple of times is just, it's just off, to say the least.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap this up.
If you win, you deserve
I appreciate your opinion.
We all have them like assholes, they say.
I can see your beard. Oh my God. Listen, I just can't, girl.
It's so nice to be back.
Thank you, Eva. All right, back on the main stage, Nalenia is crowned the winner of this week's challenge, while Kitty Scott Claus and Vanity Vane are placed in the bottom two, forcing them to face off in a lip-sync battle for their lives. The song, Believe by Cher. In the end, Kitty Scott Claus was told, Shantae, you stay, while Vanity Vane was asked to sashay away. Roberto Mata, any final thoughts on this episode? Were there any, because sometimes I feel like you have a lot of notes and you don't say them because I've moved on. Are there any notes that you had that you want to say? Any comments, anything?
Hope next week isn't as mean-spirited and down as this episode was. It was a better episode from the place of storytelling, and I think for once I finally agreed with all of the judging, so that's good. Maybe it's too late in the game for that now, but I don't know. What was the challenge next week?
It is,
it was an advertisement.
Yeah, it's one of those make an ad.
Okay. Famously, the challenge on Kitty Scott Claus's season where no one won.
I can't remember that. Yeah.
That's the way the whole season should have gone, in my humble opinion. But we'll see how it goes. Not Global All Stars, but UK 3. Hate that season. Hate it as much as I hate Bring Back My Girls the song.
Any other thoughts, Robert?
I think I'm good.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Be sure to join us next week and every week as we continue to discuss, dissect, and deconstruct each brand new episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Global All-Stars Season 1. So for Roberto Mata and myself,
sashay away until next week.
Thank you for listening to Drag Race Recap. Have something to say? Leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/afterthoughtmedia. You can also email us at dragracerecap@afterthought.media. For more Drag Race and LGBTQ content, support us over at patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia. This podcast was produced by Sabrina Vadabancourt. You can follow Robert Mata on Instagram at RAWB54. Follow Joe Batance on Instagram at Joe Batance. Special thanks to these expensive tier Patreon supporters: April Pacheco, Astute Girl, Brad Coley, Derek Byers, Doofus Maximus, E. Smith, Effie Wap, Emma, Phil Skit Pony, Flying Suki, Humble Pie, J. Thomas Plank, Kathy Zender, Lauren Eckert, Lucy Carrasco, Luke Stamen, Mary S., Mike Yeager, Nikki Baker, Mickey Pettit, Poppy Woods, We've Gotta Go Edita, Robert NYC, Sarah Yu, Runner Brandon, Tom Bombs, Traby Cosmos, and Troy Anderson. Drag Race Recap is an Afterthought Media podcast.